Hi, this is Carolina, the Soul Coach. Welcome to my podcast. Hello and welcome to the Living a Life of Magic podcast. How are you? And how has your week been? I hope it's been a great one. And today on this Living a Life of Magic podcast, I have the wonderful Adam Rom. Welcome. Thank you for coming to chat with me.
Thank you.
Now, Adam is a YouTuber. He is a music producer and he is a model. I'm going to tell you a little funny story actually, because we kept introducing ourselves to each other and you remembered my name, but I could not remember Adam's name. I literally couldn't. So when he came into the shop, I would call him the man with no name. And it seemed very fitting for what we're going to be finding out very soon. So I am very pleased to say, Adam, please.
That's my name,
very
yes.
pleased, Adam, that you are here with me in my home to do this podcast. So welcome.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
me. Truly, it's special to be here.
Good, lovely. So this is about living a life of magic. And when we bumped into each other that day in the coffee shop, I thought, it would be great to have Adam on the show because I believe you are living a life of magic. And I read your CV and it's such a beautiful CV, and it was left in my intro and a couple of other people have read it and said, what a beautiful CV. It's very well written.
Thank you.
Then we bumped into each other and I just knew that I needed to have you on here so we can have a chat. So here you are, now we need to get started. So Adam, do you feel you're living a life of magic?
I do feel like I'm living a life of magic.
And how would you say that manifests in your life, the living a life of magic? What's your interpretation of that?
I think it manifests itself in many different ways. From very small just synchronicities and alignments to seeing like angel numbers, things of that nature. But I think really living a life of magic for me is the underlying sense that I'm being protected and cared for and held for by the Creator. I think that for me lets me, as I try my best anyway, lets me navigate this existence and this journey with full passion and just fully going as much as I can in each moment.
Okay.
So I think that's what living a life of magic for me means. Is just with faith, stepping forward, and doing what I want to do. Basically, doing what I want to do. Yeah.
I think that's key, isn't it? It's about doing what we want to do, and if we can do that when we're 22, wow,
for sure.
That's amazing. So, has it always been, or is there a backstory to you?
Yeah,
because that's what I'm kind of what. I didn't ask actually before we started, is there anything that we can't talk about? And if there isn't, then please just tell me. But I would love to know, were you just born and then you knew you were living a life of magic, or was there a backstory?
No, I feel like for most of us that find ourselves on this path, there's always, not always, but there's always a backstory.
Yes.
There's always something, there's always a time of trials and tribulations that we end up finding this information and this way of being, and so for me, I felt maybe 4-5 years ago there was a time where I felt like I've always been a sensitive person, very sensitive to things, and I felt like these years of sensitivity kind of just culminated in. It's like it kind of boiled into this anxiety. This on the interview you and Scott did, you said, I guess the term's depression, and that's what at the time I wouldn't have said it. It was that, but it was like a depressive state I would have been in at 17 or 18 or whatever the age was. So I feel like that's like the point of which things for me I started to investigate further how I could heal myself and help myself.
So that's really interesting, because when I knew you in the shop, I always thought you were older because you seem much older. And I have to keep reminding myself that you're 22. And so for the fact that you had what I would have called the dark night of the soul when you were 17, which is your awakening moment, and you had it so young, I find that amazing. And it's like you've got your whole life ahead of you, which is going to be full of magical moments. And where is life going to take you? And you've already lived so much in those 5 years. So I take it you went to school and you did all of that side of thing. And then what triggered do you know what triggered that kind of what you call depressive but dark night of the soul, that kind of feeling where there was more?
I think I think the first thing that I would say contextually before I say this is, I know there's other souls and other people that will navigate this life and they'll go through quite heavy things. And I don't even think for me there was like a particular heavy situation or anything. I just felt like my sensitivity though to, I guess it's all relative, is what I'm coming to say, but I couldn't even say here and be like, yeah, this happened to me and then it did this, but it was more just like years of kind of self-rejection. It was very much, I feel like my battle was with myself, that kind of led me to the anxiety, the just being lost, being very confused with what I was doing, and but I think to expand upon that, the few years prior, I had been making music, and I think this is where there'd be potentially a bit of a difference in my story to most people. Is when I was 17, I got signed to management and to like a record label, and although it wasn't anything like crazy, it wasn't loads of success, but it was for me personally, I felt like I was trying to get to something or trying to be something, and then when that didn't come into fruition, I think it left me very like, it left my ego inflated and also deflated. I don't really know.
Yeah.
It left me just
Confused.
like confused, like I'm 18, like I've had some cool experiences that I put a lot of power on, like external experiences, external things that I gave a lot of my energy to, when actually, that doesn't mean anything, as we know. And I think it was like that then led, oh, I'm actually quite broken. Like when I get really to the core of things, there's actually quite a big void here that needs to be looked at.
So you had the record label at 17.
Yeah.
And then that didn't work out.
Yeah.
But you had some successes with it, but it obviously ended at 18. And then you're kind of like, then what am I doing? Where am I going? So what did you do to heal yourself? Did you reach out and talk to someone, or was it more of a inner?
It was definitely more of a. It was both. It was both. I've been blessed with a mother that has always kind of been open to spirituality. She's always had crystals around. She's always spoken about angels and fairies. So growing up, she'd be like, "Ooh, the fairies are here." So like, I don't know. Growing up, it wasn't the craziest thing for then me at 18 to then I go to my mom and I remember saying to her like, I don't feel suicidal, but I can, for the first time ever, I feel like I can understand why someone would want to do that to themselves. And she just like looked at me, and obviously as a mother to hear that from your child isn't very nice. And she just went, well, I had like, your crystals, like your affirmations. She would have said these few words to me that would have already kind of been planted from years and years before. And similar, I remember you saying this in your interview. When you're at that point, you're just gonna, like, I was like, cool. I'm just gonna try it all. I'm at rock bottom per se, so I'm open to everything. And I just remember it was a very few like literally days of applying myself. It was those first few days of nothing else apart from just holding the crystals. It was summertime, I think, during that time, and just sitting outside and listening to certain affirmations, and it just felt like I had developed, like during that first week and a half, just like a very thin foundational layer of hope was installed in that moment, and faith in this stuff. And I think that just, there's peaks and troughs and all of this, and I wouldn't have been doing it for some times and gone back to it, but I think that was like the moment there's something more. We have more power than initially understood.
Something bigger that's running through.
Yeah, for sure.
What a cool mum.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to
What a
my
really
mum.
cool mum,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
So the guidance you needed, you had what was there, but I think the biggest thing is having the courage to be able to say that to your mum. I mean, that is awesome. And to say it to yourself and to recognise it. And and that's inspirational.
Thank you, yeah.
It is, it really is. So what next? What happened? So I can see you've been busy.
Yeah.
Your CV's busy. It's like you've been busy in the last 3 years, 4 years.
I think after that
There's
that
some
point,
really cool things you've done.
Yeah, I think thank you. Yeah, I think after that point there was a very big time of isolation, and when I speak at this time, I've got to speak about cannabis because my use of cannabis was extensive during that time, and
So we're talking 4 years ago. We must be 22, 18. So that's COVID time.
yes,
So it's
COVID
2020.
time. Yeah.
Is that when you're talking about?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because you
completely.
said isolated, so that's then
That makes a lot of sense.
my brain immediately goes to 2020, and then it's like adding the years up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's that. No, yeah, you're right.
So cannabis usage.
Yeah, and I feel like I've always got to say I feel like cannabis propelled me forward because on my journey, because the amount of introspection, and although at some points unbalanced, the amount of inner work was like almost too much, because the spirit of cannabis is a feminine spirit, and you're in a receptive mode when one consumes that herb, and I feel like I was receiving so much information about myself, and a lot of darker energy that I'd been carrying was kind of being made apparent, and it was quite an intense time. Yet I know like the spirit that is Santa Maria I was meant to be engaged using that herb during that time, and I must always cite back to that, because I believe it's why then, after my quite extensive usage during that time, I feel like afterwards I had such a foundation of self-knowledge that I didn't have prior my whole life. And I think that was kind of a year of that energy, of that period. And then I don't know, then we're allowed to go back into the world, and I think I start navigating the world again, but with all of this kind of power kind of reclaimed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With or without cannabis?
I've kind of always used cannabis, but it wasn't to that extent. That was like I would have been smoking every day for months during that time, and definitely in an unbalanced way. That was like an abuse of that substance.
It's kind of like, sounds like a bit of an addiction for that period of time.
For sure.
Yeah.
But navigating the world kind of with that information, with the frequencies that were downloaded during that time, stepping out and putting it into practice and embodying some of it more.
And I wonder whether you would have had that download of information, whether you were smoking cannabis or not, whether that was just part of your life. We won't know, will we?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I'm assuming you're still having downloads
Absolutely,
of information, and you're not addicted to cannabis, so you're
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I think, I think we can access these states completely sober, obviously.
Yes.
I just felt for me personally, it was almost like very personal, obviously, but for me, like it just felt like a, a, a,
Catalyst?
a catalyst. A catalyst is the exact word I was looking for. A catalyst, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So then, India? Did you go to India? Oh no,
No,
ashram. No, where was
no, I
that?
went this.
Ashram Rama Yoga. That was here.
This was
Oh,
recently. This is
Mexico.
very recently, yeah.
Oh, I've just sprung forward. Let's go back.
Yeah.
Let's go back. So you worked in hospitality for a bit.
Yeah,
No,
just
I'm go back there.
no.
Sound.
This is right.
Yeah, is that good?
Just like after COVID, just like working,
Yeah.
exploring my creativity and who I am as an artist, and delving into all of the nuanced uh, energies that come with trying to express yourself, and also then battling self-judgment and different self-limiting beliefs and all of this. And that's really what the past few years has been. It's just been like a further inquiry about why I will do certain things or why I won't do certain things, or why I'll mute myself, or why I think I need to be muted. That's really been quite a big theme for me, as my expression, and yeah, opening up and sharing the light that I have within.
Yeah. And how are you expressing that right now?
So right now that's through music, through YouTube as well, which I remember saying to you at the cafe last November. I received such clear guidance to make a YouTube video every day for 30 days.
Yes. What a challenge.
Right.
What a challenge.
Yeah. But I did it
Yeah.
every day, and I felt like the fear I had about being perceived by others and using my voice and sharing what I felt, I feel like it got reduced quite considerably after that,
Yeah.
and I felt such freedom.
And do you think, because I see that you did some modelling as well.
Yes.
So you did some modelling, and how did you find the modelling? I'm going to come back to what you just said, but
Yeah.
I just want to explore that around the modelling, because obviously that's a very different
Yeah, for sure.
thing to do. And how was the fear levels with that?
No fear with modeling,
No.
really. Modeling has been a blessing, just in regards to like the literal experience of, okay, cool, I get to like go around and travel different parts of Europe, and that's amazing. And financially speaking as well, it's unbelievable to have had opportunities to receive material abundance in such a way, which then led to a lot of freedoms and a lot of privileges, such as traveling.
Yeah.
So yeah, modeling is something I've been very grateful for.
And did you just fall into that, or did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just walking one day, and my agent, she just came up to me and she just went, "Do you model?" And I went, yes. I had an agency at the time, but I'd love to know what you are saying. Yes.
That was a magical moment.
It was a magical moment.
Yeah.
Very aligned, yeah. And it's hard to articulate these things, but the nuanced puzzle pieces and how everything fits itself together before a magical moment is what makes it magical.
Yes.
So
Yes, indeed. It's all the parts
yeah,
that lead to that magical moment. And it wasn't something that you expected. It just came out as that. It is that synchronistic moment, that magic moment. So let's just back up and explore this a little bit. So you were saying about the 30 days that there was the challenge, and that it was created a bit of fear and anxiety, putting your music out there, and that then you did the modelling, but that didn't create that. So the two's very different. So why do you think that the music, that challenge created, what was it about that created the fear? Because you think some people would interpret that the modelling would created that, but there was obviously something very dear to your heart maybe on that music. So yeah, share, what was that?
You just said it, Caroline.
Did I was trying not to say it.
Music These things, it's like, oh, this is my soul. Oh,
Yeah.
this is my expression. This is vulnerable. Modeling, I'm just there. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just put clothes on me,
It's a
okay?
subtle feeling, isn't it? It's a
Yeah.
real subtle feeling.
But
But then,
it's very much was that.
yeah,
It's even now, it's like, I think the core frequency behind that is trusting oneself.
yeah,
That's something that I've had a lot to explore, is the idea of trusting myself, and maybe the lack of self-trust that has been present. And it seems to be a theme that, oh, every time I find myself muting my expression, it's, oh, because you don't trust it, because you believe that it will be perceived by someone, and I guess I'm afraid of being perceived in the wrong way. But really, I just need to perceive myself and trust what I
yeah.
am. And
You just need to perceive you in the way that you
right,
perceive you, don't you?
yeah, for
And then
sure.
because if we had 100 people lined up and they all looked at Adam, they'd all come up with a different interpretation of who
Right.
Adam is because of their own programming, their own belief.
Yeah.
But what's the most valuable is how you perceive yourself. So me personally, I think keep rocking what you're doing, because I think you're awesome,
Thank you.
and listening to your story and what you've been through and what you're doing. I think I was chatting this through with Scott earlier, and we were just saying it's about loving what we're doing and doing what we love, and that's it. That's
sure.
the purpose,
Yeah.
isn't it?
No,
Yeah.
definitely.
So what are the things that you love doing then?
I love to create, and that's so broad, but I just love creation. I don't know what else to like. Music, obviously, music's my soul calling. I believe. I believe I came here to channel certain frequencies and then express that through music. But I don't know, like all artistic endeavor, I feel like I've had some sort of connection with at some point. Not all artists, that sounds crazy, but uh, yeah, like I feel like I'm very artistic as a person, whether that be through cooking or I don't know, just moving around. Like I like climbing trees and stuff. I think that's
Yeah.
even creative in a way, like how you move your body up the tree. Like I find such joy in expression, which is then kind of contradicting how I then will mute my own self and my own expression despite how much I love it. But that's something I'm working on.
Yeah, good,
Yeah.
good. What do you say to yourself in the morning? That's what I want to ask you, is what do you say to yourself in the morning? Do you say anything to yourself? So like you like to be creative and you say about the pause button and but what do you say in the morning? Do you have anything you say in the morning? Like
I have in the past, and
Yeah.
it's something that I made a comment earlier about peaks and troughs of things, and
Yeah.
I felt like I really came out of is trough the right word? Like a peak and then a dip.
Yeah.
I felt like I was after traveling, coming back here, I felt like almost a dip of, it felt very material and very like, oh, I need to be working, and I felt like there's denser energies being closer to London and being in London all the time. And I felt like I was almost prioritizing the material over spirit. So to answer that question, as of right now, there w- there w- there hasn't been things I've said per se. There hasn't been things I've been saying to myself in the morning. But in the past, I've been saying things.
I didn't know if you said anything to set up your day,
Yeah.
to set up about, like I shared on my thing, I say to myself, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? And what would you have me say every morning? So then I'm just open to the universe and I
Wow.
just, go wherever I'm meant to go. So I didn't know whether you set yourself up because you're wanting to be creative and you want to express yourself and you want to do those things. I was just curious as to whether you...
What was that you just said? No, I don't. I might need to borrow that.
Yeah, it's
That sounds incredible.
I say to the universe, to my higher self, what would you have me do?
Me do.
Where would you have me go? And what would you have me say?
What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? And
And what would you have me say? And then I let go of my day and I know I'm exactly in the right place where I need to
Wow.
be. And then it's just about listening. That's
Wow.
what I find. That's what I do for my day. And then in the evening, I just say thank you. I'm just hugely grateful. Has gratitude been part of your magical life?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it's hard not to be grateful when things are when there's experiences that are so magical.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll say that like in a relative term, because it need to be big things necessarily, but it's that build up to said magical thing that makes it magical. And I feel like when it comes into fruition, that moment, you're just there like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
There's nothing else but gratitude, I feel.
And I feel like, listening to you, that the magic does happen all the time. It's just that then we have those magical moments that we can quantify that they were a magical moment, but actually the magic is happening because it's led you to that moment. For sure. And listening to you and what you've done, especially. So you were saying, you didn't say pause, did you? You said, what was the word you used? Mute.
Yes.
What did you mean by that?
I feel like a theme that I've had to undergo over the past few years is with my expression, with the way I've carried myself, is in certain spaces, not in all spaces, but in certain spaces I've been afraid of what others will think of me. And so my true light will be diminished slightly I'll deviate of what my truest, most authentic light is, to mold myself into what I, in the past, would have believed I should have been. That's what I mean by muting. It's like the diminishing of my light, when really it should just be like doors flung open and just let me be me.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah.
And so are you saying that that's been a struggle, but are you still struggling with that, or have you come out of that?
I think I'm still in it.
Yeah.
I think compared to what I was, I think I'm doing amazing. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
And I guess also,
No, you go. Sorry.
I guess also like, I think I can sometimes say these things and it might make it seem potentially like it's bigger than it is. If I was to put into percentages, or let me not even quantify it, but it's like a frequency within me. I say it's like a frequency that's there, that just slowly but surely it's getting chipped away as life progresses, as I move forward, as the natural hurdles of life or challenge or whatever you want to call them, lessons, as they come about, I have the option to either take them on and jump over it and expand, or I don't, and feel like I'm just doing that process and slowly I'm just going forward. It's just forwardness.
Yeah.
It's just progression.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, show me a human being that doesn't
Right.
have full on light, but then diminishes it in the company that they keep. I mean, it's just being a human being, isn't it? I think it's just being a human being. And then there will be moments where you do just full, like when you're playing music, you're probably, I've seen the videos, you're just full on light. But then if you go into a busy airport, you might not want to be full on. You can have choices as to when you shine up the light, dim the light and not, but you are still the light. It doesn't mean that part of that light's been taken away, does it? You are still light.
I think perspective like that is what I really need now at this point of my, and like you say, I'm 22. I think there's been also a theme of on this spiritual path, adhering to certain rules and regulations or some type of notion of that, and then actually creating more of a framework that I then don't need and need to get out of, and just to hear things of that nature, like actually just doing great, like everything's just fine, is I think is the most powerful stance to be situated in, and like kindness to the self and patience and understand, like just these types of things.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's great. Okay, so where would you say you're most happy? I know the answer, but where would you say you're most happy? Well, I think I know the answer. I'll write it down.
I was gonna say my initial thought was gonna be Mexico, but I'm actually just gonna then backtrack and go nature.
Yeah.
Nature is where I feel the most aligned and balanced and effortless.
You can tell that in your videos. You're like one at one, and you're just like, yeah.
I'm glad that
No, it
shines
comes
through.
across. It really does. And so, just tell us about, before we finish, tell us about Mexico.
Yes.
Because this seems a really important time in your life, your Mexico trip. So tell us about that.
I've been to Mexico twice. I went last summer to a small town called Sayulita, and I went by myself, but I met a friend of mine out there. He's also from London, but he spent a lot of time there. So I basically got to explore a whole different culture, different way of being, that is very different to the way we navigate things in the West and in Europe. And I got to be an explorer as a young man without anyone telling me what to do or how to do things. And I feel that it was a month, my first time out there, and that month was completely transformative and life-changing, because it was the first time, as I said, I as a young man got to lead myself. Whereas before, being led by some sort of ideas. Even I'm gonna bring my mom now. Like I live under my mom's roof and my mom's place, so it's, even inherently there's always gonna be some kind of like, oh, I'm adhering to something.
Yeah.
Even if it's small, there's still some energy. But it was the first time I got to really be me, like in a way that I didn't even know I could be. And then returning to Mexico at the start of this year, I went to Jamaica as well. But Jamaica and then Mexico again, it was just building off that energy of, oh, you're free. Like it felt like I was it feels like, but truly when I'm in those spaces, it feels like I'm a king in building my kingdom. Like there's no there's no ruling. I'm just going forward as I'm guided, truly, without any sort of limitation, truly. So that's why I feel like Mexico, I feel like as I keep on exploring, traveling will be the greater kind of theme.
Yeah.
But for me, Mexico is where this all started. So Viva Mexico.
So Mexico has a
Yeah.
very special place in your heart.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so do you feel free now you're back?
I feel the levels of freedom have increased.
Yeah.
I feel like I've come back here though with a mission, and I feel part of that mission is almost to accept that the same level of freedom I have in these other countries or spaces isn't what I have here. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm building here. We're putting pieces together here to hopefully create the opportunities that will come very soon, please God, in the future, that will be higher levels of freedom than I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
My YouTube channel is called Voyage of Light. I'd say also Voyage of Light's it's like an extension of myself, a project, if you will, because it's not just the YouTube channel, it's also the music that I create. And then just an addition to that, it's also, I believe, similarly to you, I believe it's going to expand into retreats and sound healing bits and bobs and all of this. But Voyage of Light, the YouTube channel, is my YouTube channel.
Okay.
And I just, as I'm guided intuitively, as the excitement comes, I create for that channel. Like breathworks, meditations, general thoughts and feelings, downloads, like this type of stuff.
Okay, amazing. So you mentioned that you were building something here. So what are you building?
I'm building, this is my answer. I'm building my kingdom.
Okay.
I'm building my kingdom.
This is so
on a
brilliant.
personal level, yeah. But I believe.
Do you know what your kingdom's going to look like?
Yes.
What's it going to look like?
I believe I know it is.
But it could change.
Could change.
But right now, right here,
Yes.
this moment, what does it look like?
It looks like me making music.
Yeah.
And I believe when I say music, it gets split off into two parts. There's like the music that is medicine. I believe all my music's medicine, but there's the real, undeniable medicine music that is for people to just consume and be immersed in, and just allow denser just allow healing to occur. And then I believe there's other music that I make that I call it almost a bit more like egoic Adam. It's like me as Adam, I might be chatting about like love relationships. So it's more like it's like channeled through the filter that is Adam, rather than some of the other music is like Adam gets out the way. It's more like I just let the purest of frequency come through. So that's the music element of what I wish to build. But also I see so clearly for myself hosting kind of events / retreats in which people can come and heal and feel safe and nourish their soul. And that might include breath work, sound healing, some of these other passions that some of these other modalities that I've picked up and really resonate with me. Yeah.
And would you do that here? Could you start doing that soon?
Yes. It's funny you
Yes.
say that. Actually, I've been so cool to start doing like a breathwork club, is what I'm
Yeah.
gonna call it. Especially for a lot of like my peers and friends that are more in London. It's something that I really want to open up, is that kind of opportunity to maybe come to a place like Epsom and a bit further out, and just kind of reconnect with nature and themselves. But I have a friend as well who we've been talking about doing a day retreat as well, which has just come into fruition. Like the past week, we've been talking about this. So it's like very soon this is gonna begin this part of the journey as well, which I'm very excited about.
It's going to build.
Yeah,
For
sure. Exactly, for sure.
And as we have already said, if you keep just doing what you love,
Yeah.
you put the intentions out there, they're aligned, then they're going to happen.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
and yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you. Really enjoyed chatting to you. Really
Likewise.
did. And it's fascinating to learn a little bit more about you. But I feel that there's a lot more we could chat about, and maybe we can do that another time. But I
Hopefully
really
so.
would love to hear some more of your music.
Yes.
So I know that will come in over time.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for having me.